Good afternoon and welcome to the first webinar of a series of 11 that we'll have on the ramp up to the European Public Health Conference that will take place in Lisbon next year in November. We're very happy to host you for this first webinar. My name is Ricardo Mexia. I'll be the chair for the conference next year. And we're planning a lot of interesting discussions, and also we're aiming at having a very prolific interaction between all the public health stakeholders to take place in Lisbon. Today we have a very good topic. We'll be talking about global health, but let me just briefly present some of the highlights for Lisbon. So this is we'll host the conference, as I mentioned, next year in November. The theme is Sailing the Waves of European Public Health, Exploring a Sea of Innovation. And this is actually a picture from very close by to the venue of the conference. We'll have also 5 sub-themes, which are AI and public health, One Health with an animal approach, health inequalities, social marketing in public health, and also global health, which is, as you know, the topic for today as well. This is the Congress Center. For some of you, it might be familiar. It's the same venue we had in 2008 when we had the conference here in Lisbon for the last time. And it's undergone significant renovation, so it will be a very nice place to host you. We'll have monthly webinars such as this one, and we'll be announcing the next one shortly. But there's a highlight for the webinars. There are prizes to be won. So we'll be giving a prize to there'll be a quiz, and the person with the fastest and more accurate answers will get a free entrance to the gala dinner in Lisbon. And we'll also draft 1 seat. And to add to that, accumulated points over the several webinars will enable the one with the most points to get a free waiver for the conference next year. So we'll have a free registration for next year's conference. This is the venue for the welcome reception at the Pátio da Galé, close to the center of Lisbon. This is the gala dinner, which will take place at Stufa Fria, when we'll have a dance afterwards. So do look up the quiz, because you'll be winning a chance to attend the gala dinner and celebrations. And we'll also like to invite you to take your time to enjoy the city. So stay a few more days or come early, because there's a lot to offer in Lisbon. We would also like to thank our sponsor. Sanofi is the sponsor of the 11 webinars, and they are the ones that are making also this possible. I'll now be giving the floor to our scientific chair, Sonia Diaz. She's the scientific chair of the conference, and she'll be your moderator for today. So, Sonia, you have the floor.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon. It is a great pleasure to moderate this first webinar on a series of webinars until the EUPHA conference in Lisbon next year. So, as Ricardo mentioned, my name is Sonia Diaz. I'm the Dean of National School of Public Health and a full professor on health promotion, social behavioral science, and vulnerable populations, but here acting as a scientific chair from the conference in Lisbon next year. We choose to organize this first webinar on a topic of global health, and we did it for a long time, and still global health has gained great visibility and relevance in international health agendas. Today, we will have 3 prominent experts in the field of global health, so they, better than I, will highlight its relevance, give examples, and explore some lessons learned, as well as the main challenge that we still face. The webinar also aims to be a shared space to share expertise in research, training, and practice on this topic, but also to promote impactful conversations around global health solutions, exploring innovative approaches for a healthy and more equitable world. So please give, it's our pleasure to announce Ilona Kickbusch, Dr. Magda Robalo, and Dr. Elena Petelos. And in fact, it's a great honor to have you all here. Thank you so much for accepting to be here today. And as it would be a great challenge task for synthesizes your remarkable curriculums, I will start and just now to present Ilona Kickbusch very briefly as a founder and chair of Global Health Center at the Great Institute of International and Development Studies in Geneva, Switzerland. Her distinguished career includes the World Health Organization, Yale University, and honorary professorship at Charité, among many other relevant positions. Thank you so much for being with us today. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Sonia. I'm delighted to be here, and I hope we can continue to discuss some of the issues that I wanted to raise. Of course, it's fascinating that Public Health Conference in Lisbon would choose the subject of global health, because if you go back to history, a new era of geopolitics actually started from Lisbon. Henry the Navigator went out over the ocean, and it started a totally new geopolitical era, one of globalization and one of colonization. And I think we are at a new geopolitical era now as well for global health, where exactly we are still having to deal with the consequences of that new era that was then established. I have brought some PowerPoints, so maybe if we could see them. I don't see them right now. Yes, thank you. So what I've tried to do is put together a few ideas that I hope will also enter the conference in terms of the geopolitical context that we see global health in right now. And as you can see in the next slide, we are experiencing in so many different areas of global health, but now also in particular in the negotiations of the pandemic treaty, a new shift in the power constellations of global health in terms of the political influence, in terms of national interests. And this reconstitution of power is also leading to increasing tensions and has made right now global cooperation and agreements, which obviously build on consensus, much more difficult. Of course, this is not only the case in global health, we're also experiencing it at COP28. And there's something new that has entered geopolitics, and that is the whole politics of technology and of innovation, something that is very close to the global health agenda. Now, we can look at these geopolitics in different ways. If you go to the next slide, one of the key ways people are looking at it is through looking at systemic rivalries. And usually one looks at three big blocks: mainland China, United States, and the European Union. And of course, for a conference in Lisbon, it will be important to define what the role of Europe, the European Union, and a larger Europe is in relation to this power shift in global health. What is often neglected in the discussions are the other major players we have right now. We have to look at India, we have to look at China, we have to look at the BRICS constellations, which are opening up and becoming larger. We have to look at the constitution of the G20, which is now also adding the African Union to its membership. So we can see to some extent, yes, we have a systemic rivalry, but on the other hand, and this is on the next slide, we have what some people call an a la carte world. What is possible now for smaller countries and for middle countries to actually choose alliances very frequently as they please. We are not in a new Cold War. In the Cold War, people were in blocks. Now they are moving back and forward. And I think very interesting, a recent poll that showed actually three dimensions that the public, but also politicians, are moving between. They want a strong security partner, they want a strong economic partner, and they want a good quality of life. And different geopolitical powers stand for these requirements, for these wishes. And you can see this again on the next slide when you look at the attempt of the European Union, for example, to define its relationships to China, and defining again in a way a la carte 3 different aspects: a partner for cooperation, an economic competitor, and a systemic rival, meaning a rival between democracies and autocracies. And of course, here again, global health is playing such an important role, particularly since COVID-19. The need for a whole range of critical raw materials for medicines, for example, is an absolutely essential element of the new geopolitics and of the power positioning. Just as if you take India as the pharmacy of the world, as an enormous vaccine producer, and this gives major countries major power in how they contribute and how global health is defined. If you go to the next slide, you can see a very helpful attempt to actually say, how do we look at the geopolitical context for climate action? And you can see here an attempt to analyze the geopolitical foundations, that is, the big power relationships, and particularly the North-South relationships, the amount of cooperation in the multilateral system, the economic foundations that are there, and the ambitions. And the next slide, without changing much, just would like to encourage you at the conference to do a similar analysis for global health. If you go to the next slide, please. You can see that the geopolitical foundations are very difficult right now in global health. The economic foundations of global health are getting ever more difficult. The cooperation is under big tension. Again, think of the pandemic treaty. And the ambitions in global health are actually being rolled back because it is so difficult to come together. Yes, please go to the next slide. You can see that increasingly, because health is now part of the geopolitical agenda, it has entered the foreign policy agenda. It is part of the major security agenda. If you look at the next slide, you can see that the United States sees this very clearly. It has created a new global health security and diplomacy bureau at the US Department of State, saying very clearly we have to see global health in the context of national security and of foreign policy. And the European Union does the same thing. Many of you know that the European Union, and you can see that on the next slide, now has a global health strategy, and it explicitly positions the strategy as an essential pillar of EU external policy, a critical geopolitical actor, a central aspect of strategic autonomy, and a part of the external dimension of the European Health Union and a cornerstone of its development strategy. So you can see how global health has moved into a center of foreign policy, which has not made things easier. We had hoped that as health becomes part of foreign policy, there is more commitment to global health, but we see as health becomes part of foreign policy, the interests that are manifested by the different parties are incredibly important. But, and this is a really important development, and I'm sure Martha will speak more about that if you go to the next slide, that we see a strong development of global health, not only in the countries of the West or the global North, or however we want to define it. But we've seen an incredibly strong development in Africa. Just a couple of weeks ago, again, the third conference on public health in Africa says clearly Africa has a voice, must define the global health architecture, needs a strong voice in this interest and power game, and will insist on getting it, repositioning Africa in a new global public health order will be absolutely essential. So if we look at the conflict lines, we see that they are very much defined right now, but shifting back and forth between a lot of actors, between in terms of the equity agenda, the technology agenda, the transparency and data agenda, the common goods agenda, and increasingly the medical supply chain agenda. The other conflict line that we see is in health emergencies. You see the conflicts around Ukraine, around Gaza, around Sudan. Increasingly, global health, medical supply support is defined by geopolitical positions, and no longer is it easy for the multilateral organizations to take a position. You will know that in all cases, both WHO and the UN have been severely criticized by parties in these conflicts. But if we look at the last point, we also see that we have conflict lines around the infodemics, around misinformation and disinformation about populism. And this influences geopolitics from below as the politics defines agendas from the top. My last point is that we also have an enormous agenda in front of us in terms of what I started out with. What started as colonization in the 15th century is now reaching a critical turning point, and the decolonization agenda is a critical agenda in global health. And we have an old problem, but we also have a new problem. The old problem is very obvious, and vaccine nationalism and many other issues have shown this clearly, that the democratic West did not share power with the global South. Now we move towards a more balanced international relationships as the global South, even though that term is not perfect, is manifesting itself. But what we do not have is an increase of democracies in the world. Actually, we see democracies moving backward and autocracies having more power. I think in the decolonization agenda, we also need to pay attention to that. I want to end with the words of the Director General of the World Health Organization, which you can see on the next slide. His, in a way, definition of global health. He says, let hope be the antidote to fear. Let solidarity be the antidote to blame. Let our shared humanity be the antidote to our shared threat. So let's hope, as we discuss in Lisbon, we can overcome some of these divides that have emerged in global health, and that we can take a new and progressive global health agenda forward together. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Professor Ilona, for the great presentation. To the limit of time, I will propose that people can post questions in the chat, but also at the final part of our presentations. But they can also post comments on social media regarding this seminar. So if you agree, Professor Ilona, we will now give the floor for the second speaker, and I will also like to thank you, Dr. Magda Robalo, for accepting this invitation. It's a great pleasure to have you here today. Dr. Magda Robalo, it's a highly experimented public health physician She's former Ministry of Health of Guinea-Bissau and is president and co-founder of the Institute of Global Health and Development. In the past, she has served as the Director of Communicable Diseases for World Health Organization's Africa region, WHO representative of Namibia and Ghana. And so thank you so much, Dr. Magda Robalo. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sonia Diaz, for having me. I'm really pleased to be part of this kickoff webinar as part of the European Public Health Conference. I'm also pleased that it is taking place on the day we are celebrating or commemorating Universal Health Coverage Day, remembering and calling upon nations and governments to make sure that people don't have to suffer catastrophic expenditures taking care of their health, and that they get the services, the health services they need where they are and the moment they need it. I'm going to take where Professor Ilona Kickbusch left, not to specifically talk about the new public health order and how Africa is shaping its voice within the global health architecture, but to quickly remind that today, on this specific day of universal health coverage, there is a set of recommendations that Future of Global Health Initiatives is launching to, again, make sure that all partners and stakeholders working in the health sector put countries as the owners of their own health and agree to work towards one line, one monitoring and evaluation framework and one coordinating platform as a way of achieving universal health coverage and making sure people have less inequities in accessing healthcare, and we have equity of outcomes when it comes to health. I'm going to talk about more specifically something that is more often I talk about when it comes to low and middle income, but today I'm focusing on high income countries, high and middle income countries, and I'm going to talk about child poverty and inequities that arise from child poverty, which affects especially minority groups in high and middle income countries, be it by ethnicity, be it by migration, be it by ability, but which perpetuates inequities across generations of people through their ethnic background or because of their migration status in high and middle income countries. So the data that's inspired my talk is coming from a recent report which was launched last week by UNICEF Innocenti called Report Card 18. And this report actually unveiled some interesting data on child poverty in high and middle income countries from the European geographic space, but also from the Organization of Economic Cooperation and Development countries, which shows that 69 million children live in poverty in some of the world's richest countries. Of course, this is nothing close to the several hundred million of children that live in poverty conditions in low and middle income countries. But specifically, I found it interesting to bring this this data to this conversation, because we tend to think that countries with relative wealth don't experience poverty. And because this is a conference that specifically also looks at public health, European public health, I felt it was important that we discuss data from European countries and what is happening around some of the determinants of health and the causes of child poverty and inequity. These reports tell us that around 1 in 8 children live in persistent poverty in 27 European Union countries. The data was, they looked into available rate of child income poverty and the success of these countries in reducing child income poverty. Interestingly, the top ranked countries are Slovenia, Poland, and Latvia. And you'll find at the bottom of the ranking countries such as France, the United Kingdom, Turkey, and Colombia. Poland, for example, was able to reduce child poverty by 38%. Slovenia, Lithuania reduced it by more than 30%. But when you look at countries such as France, Iceland, Norway, Switzerland, and the United Kingdom, they have seen increases in child poverty of at least 10%. And for the specific case of the United Kingdom, there was an increase of 20% on child poverty. That tells you that national health does not guarantee that the country will prioritize the fight against child poverty, irrespective of the size of their gross national income or their health, the funding that is allocated to the health sector. We can see, going more in detail into looking at the data published by this report, shows that countries with similar national income sometimes have very different levels of national poverty. Like I said, it doesn't depend exclusively on the size of their gross national income or the size of the budget that is allocated to health, education, or any other area that actually constitutes determinants for health. Spain and Slovenia, for example, have similar levels of national income per capita, but Slovenia has a poverty rate of 10%, and Spain has a poverty rate of 28%. I'm talking about child poverty rate. Both countries are in the low end, both at the European Union and OECD, and with a very similar levels of national income per capita. You can see that the difference between the two countries in terms of child poverty rates goes from 10% in Slovenia and 28% in Spain. You look at the United States and Denmark. The United States average child poverty rate is 26.2%, and Denmark has 9.9%. Even though they both have similar per capita national income rates. So what has been interesting in terms of these countries, those which have reduced child poverty, such as Poland and Slovenia, is the fact that they have invested in social protection nets. And this is a very good lesson for Africa. I came across these studies. I was trying to look at how can we influence policies on the African continent to work towards reducing child poverty, reducing household poverty, and making sure that we save generations from perpetual grow into poverty. Cash benefits, also known as cash transfers to poor families, are among the most efficiently used tools for reducing child poverty. I think this is not new. Brazil has been a country that gave us good examples of how cash transfers could be used to reduce child poverty and improve health. Just to now move down into the specific issue of ethnicity. The specific issue of the status of migrants into a country and how that affects generation and generations into perpetuating and perverse poverty and influence the ill health outcomes that they have. I would just mention that some unequal ways that poverty affects these families. It's based on their migration status, on their ethnicity, and ability, and other conditions that minority groups within countries are affected by policies that those countries adopt to deal with those minority groups. In Canada, for example, 37.4% of First Nations children who live on reserves lived in income poverty compared with 10.8% of non-Indigenous children. In the European Union, 37.2% of children whose parents were migrants lived in income poverty compared with 15.6% of children whose parents were citizens of the country. So Slovenia and Poland have made strides in reducing poverty, particularly influencing policies around minimum wage and increasing cash benefits for the families. But unless we also look into the laws that influence and define how migrant people and ethnic groups live in specific countries, it will be difficult to remove specific families from the trap poverty, which affect their children, influence their education, their health, and perpetuate generations of migrant people, ethnic groups into racialized groups with low access to education, low access to nutritious food, low protein intake, low heat at home, and therefore we have within this group of wealthy countries, groups of population who remain in extreme poverty, in perverse poverty, and cannot benefit from better health outcomes as the rest of the population. So I will stop here with these highlights I brought around public health in Europe based on child poverty status from a recent study from Innocenti, which I think illustrates well how inequities within wealthy nations are also issues that are part of concerns that we should be talking about as part of global health. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Magda, for your insight and your highlights. Indeed, it's a very interesting presentation, and the topic it's quite enthusiastic. So thank you so much. In terms of limiting time that we have today, I will now move the floor to introduce Dr. Elena Petelos. Thank you so much for being today with us. It's a great pleasure to receive you here in this webinar. So very briefly, Dr. Elena Petelos is the president of the recent EUPHA Global Health Initiative section. He is a senior research fellow in public health and a lecturer in evidence-based medicine and evidence-informed policy at University of Crete and at Maastricht University. She currently also serves as the Vice President of the Health Technology Assessment Session and Chair of the Gender Equality Working Group at European Public Health Association. She is the co-chair of for Real-World Evidence and Artificial Intelligence at IGHD, a member of Healthcare Professionals Working Party of the European Medicine Agency, and a member of the Advisory Forum of the Health Emergency Preparedness and Response of the European Commission, among many other leadership positions. Thank you so much for being with us, and I kindly ask you to talk about 10-12 minutes. Thank you so much.
Thank you. First of all, I think thanks for all the introductions. I think the previous speakers are much more accomplished than I am, so it's an honor and a pleasure to be here. And of course, I'm particularly happy that we have a global health section. It goes back to discussions of many, many years pre-pandemic, even at the World Health Summit and in other fora. And in the interest of time, I will go very quickly through slides so that we can have some discussion. I will skip things that were already mentioned because I think Professor Kickbusch gave a very, very nice overview of where we are now. Health is a political choice. We have geopolitical dynamics, and I will try to show what we're trying to do at EUPHA, why, and where we are at the moment. So I will start sharing slides. I hope it goes well because once we start sharing, I cannot hear you. So hopefully you can see my entire screen. If not, perhaps somebody can message me on WhatsApp. If yes, the same. So yes, very happy that we are going to Lisbon, because I'm also at the moment in Greece, in the Mediterranean, and I think some global health issues like migration or climatic change, we feel them more strongly than in other parts. Going forward, I do wear different hats, so these are personal views and do not represent necessarily positions for the different hats I wear. Ricardo, if you can hear me, please drop me a WhatsApp message so that I know that everybody can hear me, because I'm not sure you can see my slides well. Thanks. So we started discussing the global health section many years ago, because, and particularly whether there was a place in the European Public Health Association for a new section, for a new initiative, as different priorities were emerging. So thanks for the message. And indeed, we were seeing some mega trends and some key priorities that could only be solved with partnerships and collaboration beyond countries, but also beyond regions and continents. We also saw some key themes that were of relevance to high, middle, and low-income countries. And we didn't see the dialogue that we could be having in the public health community taking place. This does not only encompass the Americas and the EU, which is traditionally, we do have more exchanges, but also Asia, Australasia, and of course, Africa and South America. We think that the public health community largely does hold some common values and norms, and we wanted to have some more there in terms of a common approach to identify what could be done. We had some informal, let us say, discussions many years ago with the EU in terms of whether we could have a proper strategy with good alignment. I know that previous speakers to this effect contributed a lot, and I'm very happy to see a concerted effort. And indeed, the EU started with a very ambitious strategy released in the summer of 2022. And many key aspects, including a strong security framework, were highlighted. In parallel, for those of you that are active or interested in public forum, you probably are well aware that we're having pandemic treaty negotiations already taking place. Currently, the EU has started doing unified uniform positioning on that. We're having discussions on the potential role of solidarity within EU borders and beyond EU borders. We're also having armed conflict. Not only conflict, but armed conflict within the European region, and a lot of discussions on revisiting North and South geopolitical dynamics and what the role of Europe was. Role has always been there, but what was its strategy in relation to its role for global health and public health priorities, and critically, how we could ensure regional autonomy whilst at the same time meeting values, ensuring aligned norms, and so on. So different activities, different fora, and indeed even a new agency were being formed to this respect. The priorities of the EU, I mean, I encourage everyone who has not seen the website in the EU and relevant strategy to take a look at it. It's an ambitious document, and it has concrete actions. Perhaps it will benefit, and to this effect, we would like also to contribute as EUPHA in terms of what actions could be taken and should be taken, and at what timing, if you like. And pooling of resources, financing, critically, potential aspects of partnerships and investment are very much there. Ilona mentioned how critical the period is. I will come back to that myself in a second, because things appear to be becoming progressively more complex rather than more easy. So in terms of what we do at the GHS, the Global Health section is not there to supplant other sections, rather to bring them together where we need partnerships. And the strategy, for those not familiar with EUPHA, it's that of AAA, which is a EUPHA strategy, augmented for a scope of analysis on key priorities and scientific issues, advocacy, critically across fora, not only within the EU, but globally. So bridging what EUPHA does, bringing EUPHA to the global fora, including the UN structure, and of course actioning and supporting all the sections, showcasing all the sections in terms of what they do to global health. For 2024, there are some ambitious goals, but I'm happy to say and report back that we are already having some output. So we have been partnering with the European Medicines Agency, and we have been participating in side discussions for various stakeholders for the INB pandemic accord and also for the IHR. And interestingly, let us say, the work that we were doing even before we established this initiative, or this section, let us say, was work that was looking at the pandemic treaty and the IHR. And also, we're happy to say that some of the issues, like infodemic management, we did already start exploring partnerships with EUPHA, and with WPHA, so across continents and regions. We think it's highly relevant. This is why we started with this topic, but I'm going to mention other topics we're looking into. And the article that has come out, and I encourage everyone to look into that too, is written by the people leading in the INB, so on Pandemic Accord, and is discussing a substantive article of the Pandemic Treaty, which is focusing on effective infodemic management. Because in the negotiations of the INB, we progressively saw infodemic management, let us say, pushed on the side. So for Dublin, which we've just wrapped up for EPH 2023, we partnered a lot within EUPHA and started exploring partnerships outside EUPHA. The Global Health Initiative is under a year. It hasn't reached its first year. So, I mean, in a way, I'm blowing our own trumpet, but we have been extremely active in partnering with EUPHA law. We give a priority, and we think the aspect of partnership with EUPHA law is critical. We also, knowing what it was that kind of blocked, let us say, alignment across key global health priorities and uptake from various presidencies in Europe for gender rights, for human aspects of equality. And as we've just wrapped up the GBV cycle of 15 days of actioning, we also partnered a lot with minority and for sexual and reproductive health rights. And we also looked at aspects of nutrition, commercial determinants, and critically geopolitical dynamics in the partnership with the European Observatory. Now, the emerging themes and the collaboration that have been highlighted following the meetings of Dublin have to do with how we interact with international health institutions. More specifically, we are very interested in the dynamic between the Pandemic Treaty Accord and the INB-IHR dynamic. Those of you that follow this will know that we just had meetings last week across for all member states, and there we see we have seen over 300 amendments. So in some ways, for the working group, it's starting to look as if the accord is starting to become kind of mirage. And although, of course, this is in principle is a very technical process, it's not protected magically from geopolitical aspects, political dynamics, or even in some cases realpolitik. So we will also prioritize, because many of us involved are very active in real-world evidence and artificial intelligence aspects, in cross-sectoral priorities, and also see how the global health strategy of the Commission links to other key legislative pieces. So this is already underway, and whoever would like to be involved for Lisbon, please join us or email us. And the interaction with the UN ECOSOC, because EUPHA was previously not represented there, was represented only in the WHO region. And then some of the other aspects that we will look at, we hope to look at human rights more systematically. We've already been doing that for the past year or so. And critically, we would also like to look a little bit more at the role of multilateralism in the context of climate actioning and for geopolitical dynamics. And in this very brief tone to wrap up, I'm very happy to say that we've partnered with EUPHA Next. I've briefly announced, but said I was going to confirm when we were in Dublin, so I'm happy to confirm that we will be offered to offer a second waiver to the one Ricardo mentioned at the beginning, to a student volunteer in collaboration with EUPHA Next, so the young people at EUPHA for Lisbon. And we're more than happy, of course, to welcome other volunteers or other requests for partnership or collaboration within the section. Finally, we have had different requests for communication. Please follow us on Twitter or look at what we post on LinkedIn. But if you're not happy with either one of these aspects, you can also email us. We have a dedicated inbox and we have a dedicated team. And indeed, it is Universal Health Coverage Day. This is very important for us. But Also, because of the work we've previously done, we would like to also mention that we are witnessing an era where we see a lot of gender-based violence and women and girls suffering disproportionately, including in armed conflict. So there is a EUPHA SDG 5 channel, and we hope to have more activity on that. So thank you very, very much, and looking forward to comments and, of course, any feedback you have. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Elena. In fact, there are 3 excellent presentations, and thank you so much, Elena, also to give you an overview of this very, very important section in EUPHA. And thank you so much for being also highlighting this topic in this type of presentations. So we are a little bit behind the time, and we would like to maintain our time. And we have a surprise, a quiz at the end, so please be with us. We have several questions, but maybe taking into account that I would like to have 1 or 2 minutes from each other to give you an overview, some public health medical doctor have highlighted, as you can see in the screen, I think. He asked, how do we then our recruitment base and improve our training to become more politically savvy in order to effectively advocate for better health in political arenas? And I think this can be a question that could be raised by each of you. So please, if you could be very briefly, but what is your opinion regarding this issue that, in fact, it's very relevant for new workforce and new public health specialists? Thank you so much.
Well, I can start if you want.
Yes,
I
please,
think
thank you.
definitely we have to visit public health education first of all, and in the context of that, build also on experience of health promotion, because in health promotion, one of our key approaches is health in all policies, and understanding how health is a political choice and how those political choices are made. And I think overall, public health is so political. You have to understand how a law comes about, how people fight against laws. You have to understand corruption. You have to understand lobbying. So I still think that our public health education does not have enough of that. And then, of course, if we go to medicine, which doesn't even teach public health, then you can understand, as Joao mentioned, that the gap is just enormous. On the other hand, particularly medicine has so much political influence, but sadly, many medical associations do not use that influence for health and to really support politics for health. There are exceptions. I used to work a while in Australia, and the Australian Medical Health Association was absolutely adamant in its support for tobacco legislation, for example, but one cannot say that of all medical associations. My final point is one thing we started, and which is gaining new ground through the European Global Health Strategy, is training in global health diplomacy. We bring together public health experts, global health experts, foreign policy experts, diplomats, and we have them, first of all, learn from each other what their trade is in a way, but also through case studies, through simulation, through a range of methods, give them an understanding again for the political process. But perhaps the most important message is that everyone needs to understand just how political global health is and how geopolitical global health is. So I hope that's a partial answer, but
Yes.
it means changing training significantly.
Thank you so much. Dr. Magda, I don't know if you would like to add any particular issue?
I agree with what Ilona suggested. I think changing the curricula of schools of medicine, nursing, all the training in medical areas need to be done so that the new generation gets to understand that medicine is not just about what we used to learn in the past. Continuous training is important, the health and diplomacy, diplomacy and health. But also, I think it is important that within the health sector, we increasingly have people from foreign affairs, we have politicians working within the health sector, we have non-medical people working within the health sector. We tend to be talking to ourselves, working among ourselves. We are a very closed community, and that is not helping us in penetrating a very political world that global health has become. So increasingly, we really need to be sitting in ministries of foreign affairs, bringing people from ministries of foreign affairs, finance to sit and work with the health sector so that we can really juggle and understand better how political global health is and navigate it successfully. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Dr. Elena.
Very briefly, I mean, I echo what was said. It was also in my presentation, but in a way, it's not only, it definitely you start with the competencies, you start with training, but similarly as we try to do with EUPHA law and as we're trying to do now with global health, you really need, it cannot be a one-off. It has to be an ongoing process. I come from a clinical trial background and I trained mid-career in public health, and I can tell you we speak completely different languages. We don't understand each other's priorities. The same goes for lawyers acting in health and for doctors acting in human rights. So I think also we are trying to create a stepping stone within the global health section so that people that want to do this know where to go. So bring resources together, bring continuous education together, but also bring opportunity not just for simulation, but actually to be there if you really want to be there and participate more actively. I was a little bit surprised, but it's true. If you think about it, 6 years ago, nobody knew what the European medicines was. Not everybody, at least in my country, knew what WHO was. This changed a little bit with COVID, but it doesn't mean that you can navigate the UN structure and all political processes easily and conveniently just because you started hearing the name. So it's an ongoing process. It's costly. It requires some investment also from universities and residencies. So yes.
Yes, thank you so much. We have another question, and maybe this is the last one in terms of time. I don't know, Elena, if you want to
Yes.
reply also for this one. Yes, thank you.
So initiatives, of course, it depends. The section participates actively in bridging, brokering dialogue so that we can align position for all the public health community globally, and also complement in some respect WFPHA and other aspects and other entities when it comes to things like pandemic accord and when it comes to one voice for Europe. For professionals. So if you have one voice and there's aligned positioning from the public health community and from the medical community too, then IHR and pandemic treaty, at least from the scientific basis, can be given a better opportunity. Again, it's the previous question, more activity, being more active in the formal processes. So yes, I would probably pass it to Magda first, because I think she would have something to say. We do not interact a lot for initiatives in Africa still. We discuss a lot, but it's a one-off or a 3-month project or 2 months. It's not something systematic.
Yes, thank you so much, Elena, and thank you so much for the presentations. In fact, it has highlighted how important is this issue of global health, and probably more and more important. And so that's something that we would like also to develop, and probably, like we were mentioning at the beginning, global health will be a relevant topic to continue the discussions and will be highlighted in the Lisbon EUPHA conference next year. And so thank you so much for being part of this first webinar. It will be a great pleasure also to count with you in Lisbon, for sure, better than today, online together. And now I will give the floor to Ricardo to finish the webinar and also present the idea of these webinars in terms of the quiz, but also in the future. Thank you so much, Ricardo. It was a great pleasure to be here today. Thank you.
Thank you, Sonia, and thank you, Professor Ilona and Dr. Magda and Dr. Elena. It's been quite an impressive start, so it sets the bar very high for the next webinars. And there's yet the quiz to come, so don't go away. But I would like to thank you all for the different questions that you've raised and all these issues that we need to address. And it's also a very good tool for us to design the sub-theme for the conference. So this is surely a very, very good kickoff. So thank you so much all for this amazing session. So we'll have a monthly webinar. So my advice is to keep the conference website in your bookmarks so that you can learn about the next one very short. So thank you so much. I'll now move forward to the quiz. It's the idea is that you can use the link that's now being shared to participate, and I'll say farewell to Ilona, Magda, and Elena. Thank you so much. So this is the link that you can use to participate in the quiz. So we recommend that you use a mobile phone, so that you use a different tool for the quiz. And basically, you can also use, if you're using a mobile, you can also use the link that is available here. So you can now see the QR code. So please join. We already have 9 players, and you'll have the chance to win 2 things today. You'll have the chance to win gala dinner seats, and we'll also award 1 gala dinner seat for the person with the most points. And I remind you that points are both for correct answers, but faster answers get more points. So I'll give you a few more seconds so that you can join. We're now at 15 players, and this should be an interesting quiz. So I remind you that the questions, we have 14 questions. They'll be about EUPHA, they'll be about Lisbon, they'll be about the conference, and part of the questions have come from the EUPHA trivia. This is something that was available at, I think, 2 conferences back, and it's a very interesting tool. It's like a Trivial Pursuit for EUPHA trivia. So if you do get the chance to see it soon, we'll surely have a great time answering the questions. So I think we're now, we shouldn't wait longer. So we're going to start the quiz. So keep your mobiles ready, and I'll read the questions, and you'll have then 15 seconds to answer each question. So let's see how it goes. So the first question: when was the first European Public Health Conference? So let's see the answers. 9 answers for Lisbon 2008. Yeah, and it's indeed the correct answer. Let's see who was faster. So we have neck and neck, João Martins and Francisco in the first 2 places, but Valentina and Rafael are following close by. So let's move on to the next question. People can still join, so please do, if you can still, you can answer the questions. So where is the editorial office of the European Journal of Public Health based? So where's the office? In which city? Oxford, Utrecht, Stockholm, or New Delhi? Okay, let's see the answers. So 10 answers for Stockholm, and that's indeed the correct answer. Also several answers for Utrecht, where the office of EUPHA is based, but the European Journal of Public Health is actually in Stockholm. So let's see if there's changes in the... So João Martins is still in first, but Valentina has jumped on the second place. Let's move to the third question. So who can we thank for the European projects on public health genomics? Is it Stefana Boccia, Rosa Adani, Walter Ricciardi, or Floris Barnhorn? We have 15 and time is up. Let's see the answers. So Stefania Boccia, and that's indeed the correct answer. And second place for Walter Ricciardi, which is former president of EUPHA. So let's see. So Maria is stepping in front. She has three straight answers. She was really fast to answer this one, so she's now in front. Let's see if João and Valentina and Panagiota can keep up. Next question. What is the difference between EUPHA and EUPHA? This is a common mistake, so let's see if you can answer correctly. So only 5 seconds to go, so please reply. Let's see the answers. And so EUPHA prioritizes research and EUPHA prioritizes advocacy, and that's indeed the correct answer. And Maria is still in front. Now Valentina is coming up to second place, and Julia is now showing on the fourth place. So let's see if she can recover up to the top. Next question. We're not even halfway, so it should be still a lot of changes. In 2022, how many EUPHA sections are there? 10, 20, 22, or 26? Okay, let's see the answers. Oh, 10 answers for the 22, but in fact there are 26 sections. You can see them on the website of EUPHA. Let's see if there are changes to the classification. So Maria is in first. Let's see, next question. Which famous monument in Lisbon is dedicated to the Portuguese maritime explorations with a statue of prominent Portuguese explorer? And you can click the image which you think is the monument that we're mentioning. Okay, let's see what's the... Oh, sorry. Let's see. Oh. So the answer was the monument of the discoveries, which was the image you could see in the picture. And now Valentina is still in first. Valentina is now in first, and Maria is in second. Panagiota is on third place. Let's see. Oops, what's... Oh, wait. Apparently there is a mistake here. I'll go back to, let me just check if I can go back to the, okay, famous monuments. Okay. I'm back to question 6. Let me. So this was the previous question. Let's see the answer. So 14, this is indeed the monument. It was the correct answer. And here are the results. So Valentina is in front, so she's 30 points in front of Maria. Let's see the next question. Question number 7. Pastel de nata, a cherished delicacy from Lisbon, translates to a typical fish dish, a type of sweetbread, a traditional meat pastry, or a famous custard tart made with eggs. And this is surely a delicacy that you shouldn't miss in Lisbon. Let's see the answers. So the vast majority of the people actually got it right. Let's see who was the fastest. Okay, so Maria is now in front. Rafael is now also picking up the answers, and Patricia is in the second place, exactly as Rafael, and Panagiota in the fourth. Let's move on to the next question. Eighth question. In what year did the devastating earthquake, followed by a tsunami and fires, occur in Lisbon, causing widespread destruction and reshaping the city's history? So was it 1685, 1755, 1801, or 1820? Let's see the answers. 1755. Okay, let's see who is now in front. Maria is consolidating her leadership, and Patricia is now in second place. Rafael is in third, and Luciana in fourth. So let's see what the next question holds. So Lisboa is known for its fado music, a genre often associated with which theme? Is it love and romance, political protest, folklore tales, or science fiction? And I'm sure that when you're in Lisbon, you'll get the chance to listen to a lot of fado, which is, let's see the answer, so love and romance. And it used to be very tragic, but now there's a new generation of fado singers that have a more upbeat type of fado. So it should be also very interesting for you. So Maria in first, Patricia in second, and Rafael in third. Now Elder is in fourth place. Let's see. We're nearing the end. There's only 4 questions left. So what was the keychain invitation to Lisbon distributed in Dublin made of? So this is a question that people who were in Dublin will have an advantage in answering. Okay, let's see the answer. Cork. Indeed, it was made of cork, and it's a sustainable material. Let's see. Maria in third, Patricia in second, and Rafael in third. So next question. Only 3 questions to go. How many sub-themes does the 2024 conference have? Is it 5, 6, 3, or 8? I've shown the sub-themes at the beginning of the session, so it should be an easy answer. Let's see if everybody got them right. No, it's actually 5. So 9 people got it right. So now Rafael has a big increase in his points. So now he's in first place, Francisco in second, João Magalhães in third, and Maria in fourth. Let's see the next to last question. On which day of the week will the conference begin next year? Is it Monday? Is it Tuesday? Is it Wednesday or Thursday? Okay, let's see the answers. It's on Tuesday, indeed. It's a change from the previous conference. So it will start on Tuesday and go on until Friday. And we're expecting to have a Portuguese-speaking public health conference on Monday and Tuesday. So do keep that in mind when booking your travel to Lisbon. So we're next to the last question. So now Francisco has gone up to the first place, Patricia in second, and Rafael in third. So, but there's really a lot neck and neck, so a lot can happen. Let's see what happens on the last question. What is the theme of the 2024 European Public Health Conference in Lisbon? This is a question you need to answer fast. So let's see who was the fastest, because I think that was also an easy answer considering the beginning of the webinar. So let's see the answers. So most people did answer correctly. So it's sailing the waves of European public health, exploring the sea of innovation. And now let's see the final results for the quiz today. And congratulations to Francisco. Francisco is the winner with 839 points. Patricia is a close second with 822. And Rafael with 829 closes the podium. So congratulations to all. Thank you for participating. So the prize for the winner today is a gala dinner seat. So congratulations, Francisco. You won a gala dinner seat. But bear in mind that these points will be kept until the last webinar. So in October next year, we'll have the last webinar. So all these points will count towards accumulating for the prize of free registration for the conference. So keep posted, do participate in all the quizzes. So also consistency will be valued because you'll get points for the whenever you participate. But this is, we're looking forward to that. So congratulations to Francisco. But it's not all. Today we have an additional prize. So we'll draft a gala dinner seat to all the participants. So here you can see all the people that are enrolled, and we'll have a lottery to see who wins the gala dinner ticket. So let's roll the wheel. There it goes. Let's see who's the winner. And the winner is Panagiota Kopsiafti. So congratulations to for winning also a gala dinner seat for Lisbon in November next year. Thank you so much. So the last task I have for you today is actually ask you what word would you use to describe this webinar. You can get 3 words in, so we can get a word cloud. So type in your 3 words that you'd use to describe this webinar. It was really a very interesting webinar with very high-level presentations by top experts. So we'll be looking forward to have that in the next session as well. So we have competitive, good idea, interesting, great, useful, motivational. So now interesting is eventually getting more mentions, enlightening, also global health, geopolitical. So these are the key, nice, fun. I hope you did enjoy your afternoon. I'll just give you a couple more seconds so that people can fill in their words, but interesting seems to be the most mentioned word. So from our side, that is all today. I don't want to keep you longer than essential. I think this was a great kickoff. We'll be looking forward to the next sessions, and I'll wrap up for now. Thanks for everyone that was watching over the different social media. Keep commenting the videos that will remain available in the different social media that are present, and do look up the website of the European Public Health Conference, where you'll be able to get the updates for all the next webinars. So looking forward to see you all in January. Season's greetings, so have a great holidays for those that are celebrating them right now, and we'll see you in January. And start considering traveling to Lisbon next November. We'll be happy to host you. Thank you to all our speakers. Thank you to our sponsor, Sanofi, and also thank you to all of you that were watching and participating in the social media, in the quizzes, and we'll be looking forward to see you on the next webinars. Bye-bye, everyone. See you soon.